There are 4,218 PS2 games, and I've got to beat every one of them. I've got to own the game because I'm playing on the original hardware, but I've beefed it up using a RetroTink 5X, some component cables, and more to come soon. Can I do this before I die of old age? I hope so. Horsez was released by Ubisoft on October 26th of 2006 for the DS, the PS2, the PC, and the GBA. Sadly, there is very little information about the PS2 version of the game, save for the end credits mentioning Phoenix Studio, which also has little to no info. They were working on the canceled Rayman 4 game, but really only worked on 3 of the Pets games, which does include Horsez, but they aren't credited, which is kind of weird. Well, enough horsing around, let's just take a look. I wasn't lying when I said that this was the worst Ubisoft game ever made. I mean, the second you buy that thing, it's already lying to you. And when you put it in your PS2 system, you're going to be really surprised you didn't get the game you thought you were going to get. Horsez is supposed to be part of the Pets universe, Pets with a Z. My assumption was that this was going to be a kid's game, and it most definitely isn't. And the title, Horsez, is most certainly a fucking lie. This game isn't about the horse. It's about the main character and all the weird kids in this school about horses. Do you remember at the beginning what the box art looked like? Well, here it is again. Take a look, because this is not at all what the game looks like. It is a much more realistic looking drab setting with browns and grays, some greens mixed in, definitely no blues, which seems to be huge on the cover. Okay, let's go ahead and start this game so we can see what it's like. The very first thing you do when you start adventure mode is pick your favorite horse. That's it. That is the extent of horse customization. Immediately after, we get a cutscene at night when it's kind of stormy with a woman on a train writing an email on her laptop to her brother, explaining how she is going to be the best at the horse school. Her name is Jade, and she is the main character. She arrives at the gates of the school in a very Silent Hill Resident Evil-esque cutscene that makes it feel like a horror survival game. And then someone sneaks up behind me. It's this old caretaker of the school, and I just don't know why he's out in the woods. Was he waiting for us and he was going to help us in? Why was he waiting in the woods? Was he just finding a private place to jack it? He lets us in the gate, and immediately lightning strikes the horse stable in front of us. He says, "Don't budge, I'm gonna go get help." But of course, we budge. I enter the building even though there's fire on it, and I find a key that's glowing on the ground, which then leads me to take it to a door to open it. And this is feeling even more like Resident Evil and Silent Hill. The music, the stuff going on, the camera angles, the walking that's almost tank control-like. Well, once I get to the door, I let the horse out. The horse is the horse you picked at the beginning of the game, like your one customization option, and he barges out, and now you guys are best friends. You saved him. During the rescue scene, we actually pass out from the smoke, and we awake in a bed in a bedroom inside the school, with another student coming in to talk to us to let us know that everything's fine. They were so impressed with you and how you saved the horse that they're gonna let you use the horse, because originally he was gonna use it. But they realized that I was gonna be the better rider of the horse, and so they gave it to me. And then he leaves. However, I need you to listen to how the dialogue flows in this conversation, so here it is.
Hi, pleased to meet you. My name is Esteban. Congratulations. That was quite some entrance.
How's the horse doing?
Don't worry, the horse is fine and nobody was injured.
Oh, good.
What you did was amazing. You probably don't know it, but the horse you saved is the most stubborn stallion in the whole academy.
Stop it. Yeah, really.
I was going to ride him, but the director was so impressed by your bravery, they decided to let you have him.
Me?
That's right. So come on, get up. No hanging around. It's time for the first lesson.
You couldn't possibly wait outside, could you?
Yes, of course.
That is some fast, crazy, shitty old dialogue, ain't it? Well, it's gonna be like that for the rest of the game, so it makes me very sad. But that's okay, because the next thing we do is we meet the rest of the students. There are a total of 5 of us. There's me, there's Esteban, there's Q, there's Ginger, and there's Spike. Why there's only 5 of us at this very prestigious horse school, and how they're even able to keep it open if there's only 5 of us? I mean, I don't know how horse schools work. Do they work like this? Next, we meet the director and one of the trainers who's going to help us learn how to ride a horse. The director is someone who we see all the time for the rest of the game. The woman who teaches us how to ride a horse, you never see her again after this. I don't know why she's here. They introduce us to how the rest of the actual gameplay is going to work, because gameplay is split into 2 things, some kind of story stuff and then your weekly activities. Now I'm going to explain the weekly activities one time each because they are the same every time. The only differences are pretty much scenery changes and maybe the length of some of them. Other than that, you will be doing this for like 8 hours and it's the same every fucking same time. So here we go. The first thing you have to do each week is look at your grades. There are 3 categories for the grades, and then you have what you need to obtain to finish out your week and take part in the competitions. If you don't, I don't actually know what happens. I assume it reloads you from a save, but that could screw you over. You could soft lock yourself. I'm not actually sure. First and easiest category by far is popularity. Once per week, as long as you visit your bedroom and go to your laptop, you can browse websites online. Some of them you can find by talking to characters, and some of them are unlocked initially, that you can buy different sets of clothing and things for your horse just to kind of change the color of his saddle and his stockings. Each of these things is worth a certain amount of tokens. You'll get tokens throughout the game, and when you buy them, they will give you a certain amount of popularity. To actually get the popularity points towards your grade, all you need to do is purchase an item one time. You don't have to wear it. You don't have to do anything else beyond just purchasing it, and then you get the points. This means that every time it comes up that you need popularity points, the only thing you want to do is go into the laptop and buy stuff until you reach that number. No more and no less, because you might screw yourself. I'm not exactly sure if stores get stock back, but I've run out the stores before and then they don't come back. So you'll need a lot of points near the end of the game. And if you don't have enough left, you might be shit out of luck. The next category are your horse activities, and these are to train your horse. All that you get from this is the grades themselves to complete the week. You'll get a small amount of horse morale and health, although that's not helpful at all here. But mostly you'll get tokens. Each week you'll need a certain grade to pass, but it's not that simple. When you do one of these categories, either show jumping, cross country, or dressage, you get a score at the end out of 10. When you come back to the grade table, you'll see that you have half of that as the grade towards completing your week. That's right, you have to do it sometimes twice to get a high enough grade to complete the grade table. You can't just do it once near the end of the game. You have to do it twice. For some reason, it just takes half of your score rather than the whole score. I guess they wanted to drag things out a little bit more. These ones are not too difficult. Each one has you riding your horse. One of the few times you actually interact with your goddamn animal. Dressage is super simple. Buttons come up Guitar Hero style, and you press them at the right time. That's it. Once that one's over, you get some tokens, you move on. The next one is show jumping. This one takes place in a small arena with barricades set up that your horse will jump over. They'll have poles on them so that if the horse doesn't jump well enough, it'll knock the poles down. Your goal is to ride the horse at a trot, not too fast, not too slow. You'll see 3 different colored rectangles on the ground, 2 reds and a green. If you hit the X button in a red part of the rectangles, you might have a chance of knocking a pole over much higher than if you hit it in the green. So you always want to hit the green spot. That way your horse can jump over properly and you get the highest score. Although it doesn't seem like it's very well tracked in the game, because I have knocked over many poles and still gotten a 10 or a 9.8. I don't understand how this is scored. You do this for just a little bit, and once you hit all the gates, you're done. It's over. The next one is going to be cross country, and this one's going to be the longest one. You have more gates to jump over. However, this time you will be galloping more often. You will be getting to each of them quicker. You need to go into this small green circle outside of a gate. Once you get there, it'll turn red, you hit X, you jump it. That's it. I don't even know how you lose score technically on this one, because most of the time you're always going to jump over it successfully. I don't know. So sometimes I do run into the gate and it just starts me over and I have to run back through it. And I get very, very small reductions on my score, so I don't even matter. It doesn't matter at all. And the only difference that these have throughout the game is scenery change. That means in the background of the cross country, you'll see a completely different area. Not that it matters, it's the same thing over and over. Follow some arrows and jump over some gates. The other two really don't change that much. Show jumping does get a little longer and maybe a little harder. Maybe the rectangles get a little smaller, but that's it. That's all you do with your horse the whole game. The last category is going to be your horse's condition, your morale and the horse's health put together. There's a whole category for helping your horse. That category has 3 options: walk, talk, and horse care. Walk is ridiculous. I don't understand this one. You ride your horse, which I don't know how the condition of your horse gets better by riding it, and you take pictures, which I again don't know how this has anything to do with your horse's condition. Once you take a picture of the thing the game wants you to take a picture of, you're supposed to come back to the stud farm, right? My farm. And when you get to the gates of the stud farm, you're supposed to just be done. You complete it. However, every time I did it, it would never let me back in. I don't know why. I have no clue why. So after 3 times, I stopped doing it. Don't worry, I'll tell you exactly what I do in the future. But just know that the walk is annoying and takes a long time and sometimes doesn't work. Whatever. The next one's gonna be talk. Talk is terrible. It's just too much brain power for such a shitty little minigame anyway. The only way to do the talking part is to go to the library in your free time, read some books on exactly how the horse reacts to something it it wants. Say food, petting, nuzzling, cleaning, whatever it wants. You need to go to the talk section, and when he's making a movement, you then try to guess what it is he wants. And after a while, it gets more and more and more, and you have to do more for it to count correctly. If you get it wrong just once, over. You go to the next one, and if you get it wrong, over, you got no points. It's just a shitty little mini game. I don't like it. There's too many options. It's too difficult to figure out what he wants to do. The best one to do, but best is, in quotes, it's not really actually the best, is horse care. Horse care is the easiest way to raise the morale and the health of your horse. However, it's not fun. Not at all. You have several things you have to do for your horse. One of them is brush your horse. You hold X and you run a brush over, and you see the dirt slowly fall off. When you clear enough, which is about half, he'll turn around, and then you do it again on the other side. You will be doing this a lot. You will be doing this a lot. The next thing you do is, from about half a mile away, spray him down with water, the same way you did the brush. You will spray each individual side of him until it says you're done. Okay, fine, whatever. Then you must clean the hooves. You must clean the shoes on the horse by taking your analog stick and rotating it like you're half in a fighting game, half in a horse game, right? You've got the movements down, but you don't have the face buttons. So you just rotate the analog stick how it wants you to do. It is a little finicky sometimes and doesn't want to work with me all the time. Whatever. It's super easy once you get through it. It's just annoying. You got to do it for each hoof, so it's long. Then the worst part, you must clean up your horse's stall by taking a pitchfork, using the D-pad because it's easier with the D-pad, and moving it over kind of invisible squares that the game has selected for the floor. When you move it over a certain spot, you can press X and the pitchfork will just statically drop down and pick up something, either shit or straw. If you thought that was it, you're wrong. You must then bring it back over to this little cart and set it down. Then you go pick up the next one and bring it back. You must clear the entire floor of shit and straw. Sometimes the hitboxes don't work. Sometimes it just doesn't pick it up, and sometimes it just doesn't drop it on the cart. Then after that, you must reapply fresh straw to the ground for the horse, which sure, in real life that makes sense. In a video game, it's annoying, it takes forever, and it's not fun. And let me tell you what, you will want to do this over the other stuff because the other stuff just doesn't work well. But this is fast. It's just faster. It's simpler. I don't want to do it, but it's simple. The thing is that more often than not, this will raise your horse's morale and health so high, you will already make the grade. So it's worth it. It's quick. It's simple. It's brain dead. Just do it. Once you complete all of the grades, the only thing you need to make sure of is that your horse's morale and health stay high enough for the points to count. It can drop if you continue to do horse activities that makes him go out and jump and run. You will have to watch that, which is fine, because if you do it in the correct order, I'll explain later the correct order, you can do it without having to ever worry about it again, and then the rest of the weeks are your own. Sometimes 3 weeks of literally nothing. This is the gameplay loop. You will do this over and over and over until you get to a competition. Then you will do it over and over and over again until you get to a competition. So that's it, right? No, no, it's not it. In fact, I'll go through what happens in the game here on out for story reasons, because there's a lot of story, there's a lot of character things, there's more than just racing your horse. Although racing your horse is very small anyway, so it feels like this game has almost nothing to it. But the story is pretty insane, and if you thought this was a kid's game, it is most certainly not. This is like a young teens game. After being told how to play the game, we get a cutscene where it's Ginger's birthday, and she's talking to us, the player, through the camera, and telling us that, don't tell anyone it's my birthday and we're up here partying. We're supposed to be studying. All 5 of you are literally forced to study and you can't have a birthday party. And look at the way, oh my God, look at the way they're dancing. This game is so wonderful. It's so wonderful in such a bad way. Look at their dancing. And not only that, but the characters are just stilted. They're just weird. So during this, we're supposed to be celebrating Ginger's birthday. Esteban wants me to go get a present that he hid for her, but he hid it in the attic. Why? No one goes in your room, man. Just hide it in your room. Is she gonna go in your room? So he says, can you go get it? And my character's like, yeah, I'll go get it. And he says, be careful though, because of the curfew. How old are these characters? They've got to be 18, 19, right? 17 at least, please? Because there's some more stuff that happens. I need to know the actual age of these characters, please. Suddenly, we're out in the hallways, and we have a meter up to our top left. A small exclamation point dot grows bigger when someone comes near me. That's right, this is a stealth section, where I'm a character in the school. I'm not riding a horse, I'm not taking care of a horse. I'm sneaking away from people in the school. This does not make any sense. The game then just tells me what to do. It's like, there's 2 people on guard. Maybe if you steal a chess piece, you can get by them. So I steal one of their chess pieces, they move their chess game to another part of the hallway. I go to a phone, I call the phone, I find a key in the library, and eventually I find my way upstairs to the attic. This is like find an item and find where it goes, then find the next item and find where that goes, all while sneaking around this horse school. It is a longer sequence because you've got to sneak around and just run through the school. It's really frustrating seemingly suspiciously terribly made. I don't understand. I don't understand this section and why it's here. Just take a look at the accuracy of these cutscenes. Check out this key this guy is giving me. Look at where it is after he gives it to me. It's just hanging out down by my wrist. I have a closed, deformed hand. Everything is terrible. Once we get her present and we bring it back to the room, we hand it to her and it turns out to be an old school CD player, probably with skip protection. She says, "Thanks for the present. I really wanted a CD player." And then Spike says this to her.
"It's a totally selfish gift, so we don't have to put up with your horrible taste in music anymore."
So the dialogue is either hilariously bad or hilariously mean. After another week or two, suddenly, out of nowhere, we are just thrust into a test for the future competitions we're going to do. So this is like our final exam from the school before we move on to doing competitions daily. The sad thing is that this set of tests and all of the competitions coming up are the same thing. You do dressage, show jumping, and cross country the same way you do in horse care. That's it. You just do the same thing you've been doing at the same space. Like, I don't understand how it's a test at this point. It's nothing new. Nothing changed. I go through the competition and as expected, I do practically perfect. And afterwards, everyone congratulates me. And then the director tells us, "You're now ready for real competitions. We are heading to America," which I didn't know where we were really. I guess we were in the UK somewhere, but we're now heading to America. And the first thing we do when we get to America is the one girl, Ginger, is American. She's super excited. And we have a long cutscene of her dancing out in the middle of a courtyard, I think. I don't know where we are. She's just dancing for a long time. There's some like punky music playing in the background. And we see our character and Esteban sitting on a fountain, an empty fountain, and they're talking. But now I'm starting to think, where's the music coming from? What is she dancing to? And why is she out there dancing? Is this how America is seen? Luckily, the dancing does stop. There's more! There's more! And next we meet our new instructor. Apparently, I can't tell because of how the characters look, but she's a very attractive woman because Spike, a student, immediately says, "Well, this is one class I want to be good in." And then says, "Oops, did I say that out loud?" And everyone laughs. She looks annoyed. I don't understand the cutscene and why he's saying that. After a couple weeks pass by and we help our horse out a bit and do some training, we eventually get yelled at because our horse stable is a mess. Well, fuck that, I've been cleaning that shit up. Apparently it is, and we go in and we have to just clean it up for this cutscene. I don't know why. After I finish though, our character is confused and she finds a cufflink on the ground. She then goes to Ginger and says, "Hey, my horse stable was clean earlier. I don't know what happened. I think someone sabotaged it because also I found this cufflink. Someone else was in my horse stable." And Ginger's like, "Oh shit." Then we're back into our weeks of training until another week later, we find out that there's an inspector going to inspect our horse box where everyone should have their horses in safe condition and everything should be looking nice and the horses should look great. However, some of the horses have escaped and we need to guide him back to the stud farm. However, we're not there, just the horse. The object for us to do is to lead him back to that gate I said I would have trouble finding and exiting during the walking section of our horse care. This time though, you can go to it and it does work, but it's just kind of weird that we're riding the horse around by ourselves. In fact, the person who tells us what to do is Elsis. Now, this is interesting. Elsis is kind of the game talking to the player. However, Jade, the character Jade, can hear Elsis. I think Jade, Elsis, and we as the player are supposed to be able to communicate with each other for some unknown weird reason. And it happens quite often. She notices a voice and she's like, "What is this voice?" But then she follows what it says. Elsis messes around sometimes and it's very bizarre. It's the only way that we're actually able to do these things realistically. Otherwise, we would never know. In reality, it's just Elsis telling us what to do. The game's like, "Hey, you gotta do this." Once the horse gets back, they give us a grade, but we don't ever see it. It's the cutscene ends when they say, "We hope they've been doing a good job," and then we go back to our normal weeks. Where once we finally finish 2 more weeks, we get to our very first real competition, or so the game says. However, it's the exact same as all the tests we've been doing this whole entire time. It's just the same. Any training thing you do is what the competition's gonna be. So there's literally no pressure. In fact, every time I win, it's by miles because everyone else sucks at horsing, I guess. Directly after the competition, we're told we have another competition to go to in Morocco. So we go to another horse school in the heart of Morocco, where we meet another horse instructor and the students that she has with her. However, this is the same as every other fucking time we do anything. So it's a couple weeks before the next cutscene happens and story happens, and this time it's a little bit more juicy. Our classmate Q decides to have a swimming competition with one of the people from Morocco. I don't know why, but this is what's happening. Our character decides she wants to see if Q was the one who originally sabotaged our stable in the last area. So we decide it's time to sneak into her room, take the cufflink with us, and match it to hers. If it is a match, we can tell everyone it was her. The series of events that happens is absolutely asinine, and it's a hunt and gather type thing. You find an item, you find where it goes. You find an item, you find where it goes. And it's long. So the first thing you do is you walk into the school at Morocco here, and you find the teacher, your actual racing teacher, and she's sitting there, and there's a purse next to her. You try and grab the purse. She says, "What are you doing in Q's purse?" And you say, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know it was hers. I thought it was mine. We have the same one." Well, you have to have her look away. She says, "Oh, well, it would be nice if you found a cat because there's a cat around here and I really want to pet him." So you're like, okay, she wants to find a cat. If I want to get in the purse, I got to get the cat. You go find the cat. The cat's too high. You got to find a ladder. You get the ladder to get the cat. The cat jumps down and runs away from you. Now you can't find the cat. Well, what the fuck are we supposed to do? Oh, here's the cat's bowl. Find some cat food, pour it in the bowl. The cat will come over to eat. The woman will go over to pet him. You can take what's in the purse, which is a key to Q's room. Or so I thought. It's not. It's actually a key to the library. I go to the library and there's nothing to do in there. There is a prompt marked with an X, like I can't activate it yet, on the table. So I leave and I find that the caretaker is watching Q's room. He says if he could have something to eat, he would get up and leave, and then I could watch the room for him. I say, okay, sure. I go and find him a sandwich. Spike is outside and he has a Subway or Quiznos sub. I don't know why he has that, but he does, and he says, "I'll give you this sub if you take my book back to the library." Oh, we take his book back to the library, which is about as far away as you can imagine from Spike. Then we have to come back to Spike to get the sandwich. Then we must go all the way back and give the sandwich to the dude. Once we give the sandwich to the dude, he leaves and we can go into Q's room. All of about 10 seconds of searching in her room for the cufflink gets us caught. We get caught after about a 20-minute item search, and we're in trouble. We get reprimanded in front of a bunch of people, like, "You're in trouble." So the director yells at us, takes away all of our tokens, and says we're on thin ice. So one thing is you could spend your tokens before this and not worry about anything, because if you have 0 tokens, he can't take any away. It does kind of suck though, you've got to get all your tokens after this, but it's just the fact that in a Horsez game, I spend 20 minutes hunting and searching for stupid items to make the story progress. It's boring, it is not fun, and it's just terrible design. Okay, so after we get reprimanded, we go back to just normal gameplay until we finally reach the competition. But before the competition, Ginger notices someone coming out of our stable. We then have to chase him on our horse, and he's on a motorcycle, this person. So they drive away through the little city area, and we've got to chase him, and I lose him until I finally the mission ends. I'm like, okay, cool. He was way gone, man. There's no way I was catching him. So we lose him. Nothing we can do. The competition's tomorrow, and that's it. But we do get a special scene with the director of our school and the director of the school from Morocco. Apparently, they were married at one point. So they're over here discussing, their adult stuff in a movie type way, kind of a Disney movie type way, where they're like, "Oh, I can't believe we're going to fight each other." And she's like, "Yeah." And then eventually we do the competition, which is the same as all of the practicing we've been doing over these weeks in the same spots and the same stuff. And then they have another conversation and she's like, "I can't believe we lost." And he's like, "Have you become so bitter?" And she's like, "Yeah, I guess." And that's it. Next, we see a cutscene that's very special. See, the students have all been happy that they're in Morocco. They think it's a paradise, which is great. But they all now get to have their little moment in this special cutscene that looks like it's pre-rendered, but I can't tell what the fuck is going on. We first see the director and his ex-wife sharing a glass of wine at night. And then we see Esteban and our character Jade getting together. He gives us a flower. And then we see Spike and the teacher. And now I'm concerned. Next, we see Q and Ginger. Ginger says, "Do you want to study with me?" And Q's like, "Everyone's mean to me because I was mean first." And Q and Ginger's like, "Well, I guess you don't want to." She grabs her hand and says, "No, never mind." I don't know if they're a couple or not, but they definitely are the last 2 people there that are not a couple if they aren't. But what's surprising is after this night where clearly Esteban and I bang, we wake up in our bed and Ginger says, "Hey, you gotta get up. We gotta get moving because the competition's been pushed forward a week." Didn't I just do a competition? Are we in another one? Is there 2 for Morocco? I guess so. So we stay in Morocco and do another competition. After a couple more weeks, we see another cutscene. One of the students from Morocco is kind of goading us into doing something with him, and he's gonna show us something cool. Well, we're trying to sign up for this next competition and we only have a little bit left to do it. Well, he tricks us and he gets us into a building where he then locks us inside. We are now not going to be able to make it to the competition unless, oh my God, why? We find a bunch of items in this room in the right order and use them correctly to both call your horse over, attach a rope to him out the window, and then to the door itself, where your horse will rip the door off. First of all, this is a game called Horsez, and we don't see the horse in this cutscene. All we see is the rope, and the game tells us what's happening. It's insane that we don't see the horse in a game called Horsez. Nope, I told you, it's all about Jade. After we get out of this house, we walk out, get on the horse, and we have to get to the competition sign up before it's over and we get disqualified. So we race our horse through town until we find the gate and it lets us through. Luckily, we make it back in time. However, we do confront the student and say, hey, you shouldn't have done that. And he's like, well, I'll tell you everything if you race me. Now, first of all, okay, sure, whatever. I'll race you, dumbass. Second, this is the second race we've had. The first race I had was with Ginger way back in the beginning. A very short race. It was a fun race. I didn't even cover it. There's way too much to talk about. But this race is a little more difficult and it's necessary to beat. You can't just fail it. So you need to race this guy and you are next to him in the town. There are two directions to go near the end of this track, this area, and you must take the right path so that you can pass him, because while you're racing, you touch anything, you slow down. Even him. He doesn't slow down for shit. You have to do this perfectly, otherwise you do not beat him. We get back inside and the student actually does tell us what's going on, although it doesn't make any fucking sense. I don't know any of these characters. He says that he's upset that Spike, our classmate, is going out with Wendy, which I thought he was with the teacher, although I'm not really sure what that's about. He says Wendy. I don't know who Wendy is. And then someone else, Deborah, told him to do something. I don't know who Deborah or Wendy is. I only know who Spike is. I don't even know what your name is. And I don't know what else is going on. I don't know why he's doing these things. Like, really? Why me? What did I do? This has nothing to do with me. It's all about Spike. So why is he fucking with me? And then, of course, the character says, are you the one who was sabotaging my horse and letting him go? And he's like, no, not me. So we literally get nowhere. But before we're done, he does have this really interesting line he says.
Did you let my horse out?
No way, that's got nothing to do with me. I'd never harm a horse. They're so innocent. We use them and they accept it. Extraordinary animals.
Isn't that just insane? What a weird line to say. Directly after this, we do the competition and I pass with flying fucking colors. It's super easy. We have a cutscene afterwards that shows the characters talking about the next competition. There's still more. However, it's the last one before the big championship one where because we've made it this far, we get to go to the championships and one of us gets to be crowned as the Horse Whisperer. During this conversation, Ginger just wanders off and everyone wonders where she is. Well, Q goes to check on her and it seems like everything's all right because suddenly the next cutscene after that is us going back to the very first school we were in where we originally saved the horse. I don't know why we went back here or what we're doing for the competition. We're really not given much more information. I think at this point the game was really being rushed to get out. From here on out, I think I found a pretty good setup for how to complete each week the fastest and then just fly through the rest of the week without having to do anything important. When my grades start over and I need to get new ones, I start the weeks by doing 2 of each of the horse practice sessions, cross country, show jumping, and dressage. That will complete the grades for those, that will give me tokens, and that will put my horse at the lowest health and morale. The next thing I do is I do horse care 2 or 3 times. That way his health and morale are all the way up. Now, as long as I don't do anything else with my horse, he will not lose health or morale. Next, I go to my bedroom and I buy all the stuff for the popularity that I need by counting it out. And then I go to the library over and over and over. Every time I go to the library, I turn around and exit. Go to the library, turn around and exit. That will make the week go by very quickly and it will get me through much faster because honestly, there's nothing else to do. Getting ready for the big competition before the championship is pretty easy, honestly, although we do have a few more things in between horse care and practicing. One of them is that Esteban's horse, after about 3 weeks, gets sick and we must race to the vet across town on our horse. It is very simple. We just go through these paths until we find the right house, and we have plenty of time to do it. It's just get there. The problem is that once we get back, we are actually accused of being the ones who poisoned his horse, since they found a vial in my room of the poison. I don't know where they found it or how it got in there. Honestly, the rooms are usually locked, and the caretaker, who was probably eating a fucking Quiznos sub, was off and letting someone else come into my room. Anyway, Esteban is pissed. The director is pissed. We try to convince them, like, hey, this stuff's been happening to us. Haven't you noticed the crazy shit around here? And no one really has, but the director is willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. I make a few more days of progress, and then I'm given another, well, not really a cutscene, just the beginning of one of my sneaking around item finding sections. They have completely foregone the cutscenes and just given me a quick message from Elsis saying, well, there is someone behind this, we gotta figure it out. And then we must sneak around, which really the sneaking is just a couple people outside. I immediately run past them, get inside, find the key to the library, and go in the library. And we find out that we need to get into Ginger's room. So Ginger's the one who was gone the last couple times while things were happening. Now we're starting to suspect it might be Ginger. So we go break into her room and look through her diary, and you'll never guess what we find. Not only does Ginger also in her diary question who could possibly be messing with me since I'm her friend, but she also talks about her problems getting over the fact she had bulimia, and that someone made a rude comment to her about eating some potato chips the other day, and it gave her a bunch of anxiety and stress. Which, that's not kids game shit. That's real shit. Why is this in here? I don't understand why this is part of the story, but poor fucking Ginger, man. So Esteban actually comes over and consoles us after we read the diary and learn it's really not her. And she says this line right here.
Oh, Esteban, I need you so badly.
Okay, we actually get another cutscene where all of us, the 5 students, are sitting in that little getting together room, and Ginger apologizes for being distant. You had bulimia and we're getting over it. I don't think you need to apologize. I think there's a bunch of shitty stuff going on around you. You're okay. But we then get to see another cutscene after this, shortly, where it shows the students talking about the championship, because by the way, I won the championship. It's fucking easy. But they're all excited, and in the background, my character, Esteban, and Spike are dancing. And we have Ginger and Q talking. Ginger and Q are upset that they're not going to see each other after this because they're going to go back to their own countries. However, this is what they say.
Even if I wanted to stay, your country would never let me. I'm Chinese, don't forget.
Okay, sure. This is all wonderful. Well, the next cutscene shows the director talking to us about the fact that we finished the championships, and it's the first time in his career we've ever made it to the Horse World Championship. I'm sorry, Horsez World Championship. We then go through about several more weeks of doing the stupid timetable grade thing, so it's just dragging itself out. Finally, we get to the championship, the World fucking Championships, which is in 2 parts, because why not? They need to have the extra story in between, and they would just want you to play the game longer. So the first thing is we do the 3 things we're supposed to do: cross country, show jumping, and dressage. Afterwards, we're celebrating in the rest room with all the other students. We're hugging Esteban and saying, wow, my horse was extra powerful today. Maybe he knew what was up. Well, guess what the fuck happens next? That's right, if you guessed we'd go to jail for giving our horse steroids, then you were correct. But we don't go to jail quite yet, although I'm not sure if we're actually going to jail. We're just in another room in the school sitting there. Esteban comes in to comfort us, and we talk to him for a little bit, and at the very end of the conversation of him saying, we're gonna find out who did this to you, because obviously it wasn't me, I didn't give my horse steroids. Before he leaves, Jade asks why he has his sleeves rolled up, and his sleeves are not rolled up in this video here. I don't understand why she thinks they are. Apparently they didn't have the budget to roll his sleeves up. But he says, well, I'm missing a cufflink. Uh-oh, I think Esteban's been the one poisoning and hurting our horse, so we have to escape this room once he leaves. We escape the room, and we spend the next 10 minutes finding out the code to a safe that has the magnetic card that gets us into Esteban's room. That's right, we're gonna break into his room now. We're just gonna break into everyone's room. I walk around the school talking to the other students who really do believe I didn't do it, and they give me clues as to what the code for the safe really is. And I get 2 clues and I figure it out really easily. It's 4224. And once I get in, I get the magnetic card, I go into his room, and a cutscene starts with us saying, we found all this stuff in his room, he's definitely the culprit. And they just go, okay, sure, spill the beans, tell us what's going on. He says that he's upset that we got the horse that we saved from the fire at the very beginning of the game. He was supposed to get that horse, and that horse is so good that he would have taken it to the Olympics, which, sure, man, I'm sure you would have. Although, really, the whole fact is that you've poisoned the horse, you've bought steroids, you let the horse go, you've just been kind of terrible. But the director is really more interested in telling him about his relationship with the horse. How do you know the horse would have gotten you these results? You just don't know horses. How about instead instead quit buying steroids and poisoning the horses and letting them go and being a general nuisance. Maybe that's probably the better thing. You aren't a good human. It's not your relationship with the horse. If you could imagine, directly after this cutscene, we go back to our normal fucking week where we take care of the horse and we make it to the second part of the competition. The part of the competition that we just got caught cheating in, even though it was Esteban's fault. Our horse had steroids. I don't think we're qualified to go and do more championships shit, right? If that happens, they might even cancel it. If someone was literally sabotaging one of the other students, he could have sabotaged other stuff. I really think that they wouldn't have let things go on, and they would not have let Jade participate, because there still would have been an investigation. And it was like a week later that the competition comes in. So there's no way we would have done this. But you know what? Fuck it. We did it. We ride our horse so goddamn well, even without the steroids. Probably still in his system. Who knows? But we get up there and we accept our first place trophy, and we get to see Esteban, who is apparently allowed to just be there watching, and he watches us get it and walks away slowly. And then we get credits. That's right. That's the end of the game. The end of this shitty, shit game. I cannot believe the lengths they went to make this game, because it came out so badly. A lot of effort for literally nothing. It's sad to see how bad the dialogue was, to see how bad the cutscenes were animated, to see how little of the horse you actually take care of, and how much you pay attention to all these stupid teenagers in a horse school. I don't understand. In fact, if you want to take a look at the other versions of this game, Horsez, on the DS and the PC, you get to see a completely different game. Mostly because they don't have this long, drawn-out, shitty story. I believe those games are much more about just raising your horse, taking it to competitions, and getting points. And you also get to raise a foal. Apparently, you get to raise a foal from the beginning of the game to your horse now, then you get another foal or something like that. But you don't get any of that. You have very, very little in the way of taking care of your horse in this game. It's just 75% your character, shitty dialogue and cutscenes, and then 25% brushing your horse and watering him, and then picking up his shit. I cannot believe they made this game, man. Seriously, who let this through? So anyway, that's it, everyone. Game number 55. I'm sure you got to see how terrible of a game this was. I mean, there's just nothing else to say. It was a terrible fucking game, and I'm glad it's over. But there is a Horsez 2. That's right, there's a Horsez 2. So prepare yourself for another romp with Jade? I don't know what Horsez 2 is about. I would like to thank everyone who watched this video, everyone who's there for the live streams, who suffered through it with me, and everyone on the YouTube and Patreon memberships. On the YouTube side, we have Ilka, Uranium Donut, Zooming Zorark, Peplo, and Delaney. On the Patreon side, we have Johnny Baghead, Jay Hank, Lucas Nicholas, James Fan, Hypervertus, Valerie, T-Roy, and Delaney. Thank you guys so much. It is extremely helpful for the channel. It gets us more games. We get to try new things. We even get new peripherals like RetroTinks and controllers and all those things to help make sure that we can play every single game out there, as there are so many. Thank you again for everyone who is here. I will be back again for the next video on ATV Off-Road Fury 2. Later.